On the day of the family banquet, Elena burst into a hotel room with a group of reporters. What she found shocked everyone. Her husband, Adrian, was in bed with his pregnant sister-in-law, Celeste. Celeste screamed in panic. But instead of apologizing, Adrian immediately pointed at Elena and accused her of setting him up. I was speechless. I've seen shameless people before, but never someone this shameless. He was the one cheating, yet somehow he was trying to play the victim. However, Elena didn't argue. She simply smiled, because she knew this was only the beginning. Adrian thought he was the hunter. In reality, he had already become the prey. Faced with dozens of witnesses, one of the hired men suddenly dropped to his knees and confessed. Adrian had paid him $100,000 to ruin his own wife. The room exploded into chaos. But Elena wasn't finished. She pulled out a USB drive and played years of secret videos showing Adrian and Celeste's affair. The evidence was undeniable. The adulterous couple's disgusting secret was exposed in front of everyone. Then things became even worse. Police officers stormed into the room and arrested Adrian and Celeste on charges related to assault and illegal activities. Watching her husband being dragged away in handcuffs, Elena showed no emotion. Only hatred remained in her eyes. But how much pain must a woman suffer before sending her own husband to prison? To understand that, we need to go back 3 days. 3 days earlier, Elena had just received life-changing news. After suffering 4 miscarriages during 3 years of marriage, she was pregnant again. For years, she blamed herself. She believed she was incapable of carrying a child. This pregnancy felt like a miracle. Excited to surprise her husband, she rushed home with the test results. But outside his study, she overheard a conversation that destroyed her entire world. Inside the room, Celeste said sweetly, "Darling, our baby is finally safe." Adrian replied with a smile, "Good, I only married that idiot to cure your condition. Now that you're pregnant, we can finally get rid of her." Elena froze. 3 years ago, Adrian's company was on the verge of bankruptcy. She had begged her grandfather to invest $10 billion to save him. She sacrificed everything for that man. Yet from the very beginning, he had only been using her. The woman Adrian truly loved was his brother's widow, Celeste. And because Celeste couldn't conceive, Adrian had turned Elena into a human experiment. Those 4 miscarriages weren't accidents. They were all part of his twisted attempts to develop treatments that could help Celeste become pregnant. At that moment, Elena realized she had been living with a monster. But the nightmare wasn't over. She overheard Adrian discussing another plan. To ensure she left the marriage with nothing, he intended to drug her at an upcoming party and frame her in front of everyone. Elena's heart shattered completely. Then came the final blow. Her grandfather, the only family member she had left. Elena accidentally overheard another conversation involving Adrian and her own mother. She discovered that her grandfather's car accident had never been an accident. He had uncovered Adrian's affair and threatened to tell Elena, so Adrian deliberately ran him over. The elderly man was left in a coma. That was the moment Elena died. Not physically, emotionally. The kind and gentle woman disappeared forever. In her place stood a queen of vengeance. She wiped away her tears and made a vow. She would destroy Adrian. She would destroy Celeste. And she would make everyone involved pay. But there was one problem. How could she fight against Adrian's powerful family alone? That's when she thought of one man, Ivan Romano, a legendary mafia kingpin, a man rumored to control half the world's wealth. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Gathering her courage, Elena sought him out. She looked directly into his eyes and said, "I need your help destroying Adrian." Ivan studied her carefully. "What do I get in return?" Elena offered money, shares, anything she possessed. But Ivan simply shook his head. Slowly approaching her, he said, "Money? I already own half the world. What I want is you." At that moment, I thought she had escaped one wolf only to enter another wolf's den. But Elena no longer cared. For revenge, she was willing to pay any price. The deal was made. Elena revealed Adrian's entire plan and proposed a counterattack. Instead of becoming the victim, she would expose Adrian and Celeste before the entire world. Ivan was impressed. He promised to handle everything. And so, the revenge began. A week later, Elena arrived at the celebration banquet wearing a stunning black gown. Like a dark queen attending her enemy's funeral, when Celeste proudly announced her pregnancy, Elena calmly stood up and asked, "Congratulations, but your husband died 3 years ago. So who exactly is the father of your baby?" The room fell silent. Celeste immediately burst into tears. As expected, Adrian rushed to defend her. The guests began whispering. The scandal spread through the room like wildfire. The first phase of Elena's plan had succeeded. Enraged, Adrian dragged Elena upstairs. Pretending to care for her, he handed her a glass of water. Elena immediately recognized it had been drugged. She pretended to drink it and acted dizzy. Satisfied, Adrian left. Moments later, 2 hired thugs entered the room. But instead of finding a helpless woman, they found Ivan's elite bodyguards waiting for them. The thugs were taken down instantly. Then the bodyguards carried the drugged Adrian and Celeste into the room and placed them together on the bed. Everything was set. And that's how the scandal at the beginning of our story unfolded. After Adrian's arrest, Elena immediately filed for divorce. She thought her revenge was finally complete. But Ivan had one last gift for her, a recording. In it, Adrian confessed to causing her grandfather's accident. With that evidence, Adrian would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Elena finally felt justice had been served. For the first time in years, she could breathe again. Yet a new problem emerged. She discovered she was pregnant. And the child belonged to Adrian. Determined to be honest, she told Ivan everything. Then she asked the question that haunted her. Would you still marry a woman carrying another man's child? Ivan didn't hesitate. Why wouldn't I? He calmly informed her that once Adrian was imprisoned, they would get married. Elena was confused. Why was he so determined to have her? Had he fallen in love with her? Ivan merely smiled. Then he said something that sent chills down her spine. It seems you've completely forgotten what happened 3 years ago. Taking my enemy's woman is the sweetest revenge of all. 3 years ago? What happened 3 years ago? Was Ivan really helping her out of love? Or had she unknowingly become part of another dangerous game? Elena had escaped one nightmare. But had she just stepped into an even darker one? And what shocking secrets from the past were about to be revealed? The real story has only just begun.